Welcome to the Midweek Mailbag, your Detroit Lions midweek podcast where we answer your Detroit Lions questions right here, live on YouTube, live on Twitch, and of course available on any podcasting platform you may use, regrettably use if you don't like the one that you use. I don't know. Change. There's options out there. What are you doing? My name's Jeremy Reisman. I'm the producer over at Pride of Detroit. You can find me at Detroit Online on the social medias. With me, as always, is... I don't know. What are we going to call you now? Back to managing editor? You're muted, so we're going to start there. The muted general manager of Pride of Detroit, a.k.a. The Machine, a.k.a. you can find him at Erik Schlitt on Twitter. It's Erik Schlitt. How we doing, buddy?
Hey, bud. This technology thing's new for me, so...
Listen, we're getting older. Technology's constantly updating.
Yeah.
We're going to be replaced by AI before you know it. Maybe we already are.
Look, I need more than 5 years to get comfortable with operating systems, all right?
Okay, but mute buttons should generally be, I mean, how long has Zoom been out?
5 years, right? Like, I mean, that's how when people have been using it for. I don't know, 6 years? I mean, I'm sure it's been out much longer.
Yeah,
but
like 25.
No, but I mean, like, we've only been like really using it in this capacity for like 5-6 years. So 6 years.
All right.
See?
So
I don't know.
So when's the shaking our fist at the clouds segment of this show? We're here to answer Detroit Lions questions, and just kind of like a preface at the top of this, we're not going to talk too much about the NFL schedule. I'm recording this on Wednesday morning, so the only games that we know of for sure at this point are the Munich game, which has been confirmed with the Patriots, and the Bills game, a Thursday night matchup in week 2. But anything else we talk about the schedule will essentially be outdated in, 30 hours or so. So we're going to save the most of the schedule talk to next week at this point. But that we had no shortage of questions on other topics, and we're going to start with the New York Giants' behind-the-scenes draft video that showed, presumably, almost certainly, the Lions attempting to trade up. And if you haven't seen the video, it's just basically Joe Schoen, Erik's favorite general manager in the league, turning around to the room and spouting off, as he's talking about potentially trading down from pick 37. Spouts off the Lions, 3 of the Lions picks, so both of their 4th round picks and their first of 2 5th round picks, presumably getting an offer to trade from 50 to 37. And obviously that never happens. They take Colton Hood instead. According to the Giants general manager, they were always going to take Colton Hood if he was on the clock now. Again,
sure,
we're only seeing little clips of everything, but anyways, that's the background of the video. If you haven't seen it yet, it's available on the Giants YouTube page. I'm going to smush together 2 questions about this because a lot of people are either panicking about it or curious about it. We get a little bit of both here with our questions here. Dan P. asked, I'm curious of yours and Erik's thoughts about the Giants behind the scenes video showing Brad trying to trade 2 4th and a 5th for Derek Moore at 37 when luckily they ended up standing pat at Colton Hood. Thank you, Colton Hood. So Dan obviously didn't want them to trade up and spend all that draft's capital. Now, I do think there's a little bit of an assumption in there that the Lions would go for Derek Moore. We do know that Derek Moore was their top defensive end in going into day 2, according to Brad Holmes. Okay. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're going for it, which leads us into James S.'s question. See a lot of people talking about the trade offer with the Giants and how Brad would have traded all those picks to move up and take Derek Moore because Brad said Derek was his number 1 guy on day 2. So I went back and instead listened to Brad's post-pick press conference. Brad actually said, paraphrasing here, it was important for us to get someone in the cluster of players we were targeting on day 2, and he later said Derek Moore was his number 1 edge in that cluster. Do you think Brad was making that aggressive trade offer with the Giants for a different positional player than in that cluster of players? And if so, any insight into what players picked earlier in that range would have fit the Lions before they went with Derek Moore? I wonder if it was a corner or a defensive tackle.
So let's talk about the trade first, because this is not the first trade that has been leaked via the other team that has included Brad Holmes. The other one was Baltimore, suggesting that they had a trade with a team in the teens that had 2 4th round picks and were willing to move up, and the Lions were the only one of the
Right.
only team that fit that criteria as
And
well.
then the Rams too, right? The Rams said
Right.
they had an offer from the Lions. We don't know what that offer was,
Right.
but it wasn't good enough for
So
them.
so there's a couple things to, I think, address here. First is Brad is always checking in on other teams,
Yep.
and he's always trying to determine the value of what he wants to trade for certain picks, right?
Yep.
We know that he has those discussions ahead of the draft. And then on draft night, he talks about the fact that he goes back, touches base with those teams, and then rechecks to see if anything has changed with what they had talked about previously. So a lot of this could just be like Brad checking temperatures again, saying, "Hey,
Sure.
this is what we talked about before. I just want to make sure we're still looking at this, or if that's good." Um, some of it could just be Brad, like, just trying to figure out what the best value is like in the class. Like, if we have this cluster of players, James mentioned,
Yep.
like, what is it going to cost me? Is it worth it to get, if there's three guys in that cluster, or if there, is it going to cost me this much money? But what if there was two guys in the cluster? Would the draft capital still be the same? So I don't put a ton of weight into these conversations, especially because they're from the opposing team's point of view, right?
Sure.
And we know for a fact that those videos are geared to make that team look good, right?
Yep.
And so
Propaganda, as we may have put it at one point.
but so I try not to put too much weight into it. We know Brad makes these calls. We know Brad checks the temperature with people all the time. And so I'm not overly concerned. It does seem like those are a lot more prevalent this year, but it could also be the fact that, Brad didn't make a trade in the first round. So we're hearing about the ones that he had talked about, or he did
Right.
make a trade in the second round, but maybe he was getting a different guy. And we'll get into that in a second, but I'm not overly worried about the rumors
Right.
or the speculation of the trade. But I'm interested in your thoughts on it.
Well, I mean, yeah, it is certainly important to point out like the chasm in information that we have here, right? We're not exactly privy to when these conversations are happening, right? The way it's framed in the video is like the Giants are just preparing, right? Like it's the beginning of day 2. They're getting all these calls. They're fielding them all. And I mean, this could very well be Brad at the beginning of the day, at pick 33, at pick 34, just being like, hey, what would it cost to get up there?
Mm-hmm.
What if we offered you this? Would we have a deal in place? And they can say yes or no. And that doesn't mean, okay, deal done. It means, okay, now the Lions have a price, right? They know what it's going to cost to trade up to 37. Now they go back internally and say, okay, here's where we're at. Here's the players left on the board. Here's what we want. Are we willing to pay this? Let's have a conversation about it. Maybe you have that plan in place and you say to the Giants, we'll do it as long as a guy is there. And I think the most important information that we don't have is why it didn't get done. The assumption is made, again, probably to boost the Giants' what the Giants look like is they took Colton Hood.
And with Shane, you really need to do a lot of work there.
Colton Hood was still on the board, and that's the guy they wanted no matter what. Of course, it makes them look good if they're like, we had all these lucrative trade offers, but we were so bought in on Colton Hood. That's who we took. That's why we went there. But it could also be a fact, as a lot of people are speculating, include James, where the Lions backed out. They said, you know what, this is what we're willing to give up, but only contingent on this player being there. And maybe that player wasn't there. But it is also reasonable to think like maybe they were going to get super aggressive. Maybe they were going to go up there and get Derek Moore. I think that's certainly within the realm of possibilities, if not likely. This Brad gets aggressive, right? When he likes a guy as much as he does, and we all know how much edge was a need, and we all know how much, Brad said that he liked Derek Moore with all the edge options available on day 2. Like, it's certainly possible, and I would not put it past him that he was very seriously considering essentially selling the rest of the draft just to get Derek Moore. And if that's the case, like, yeah, that's a little worrisome to me, because I mean, we don't need to get into the trade up arguments that we have seemingly every 3 months on this podcast, but particularly in this instance where I think the Lions just need a lot of draft capital. They need a lot of bodies to overcome a very expensive core of players. I would not have liked it if they had made that trade. Don't know if they were going to, if they were seriously considering it, but we know at least they were gauging interest, gauging price, and there's nothing wrong with that on its surface. But if he was serious about making that trade, I do think that's a little bit of a worrisome sign. And given Brad's track record, I certainly would not be surprised if they actually wanted to make that trade.
Well, let's put on our tinfoil hat here for a second,
okay,
and kind of break it down.
Yeah.
So if that was when the Giants were on the clock, if this conversation was had, and we can also agree that Derek Moore was Brad Holmes's number one edge. Okay, let's make that assumption as well. If we look at the picks in between Colton Hood and where they actually landed Derek Moore, we can eliminate some guys right off the bat. Like they weren't going to take Denzel Boston. So that he wasn't the guy in consideration. We also saw R. Mason Thomas and Cassius Howell both go off the board, both edges that the Lions would have had rated lower. I had them rated lower on my board for the Lions as well, because they were both undersized, right?
Sure.
Maybe make the argument for defensive tackle Christian Miller, but the fact that I'm a little bit more speculative on that.
Yeah.
And so to me, that leaves Jacob Rodriguez at 43, which would have made a lot of sense, and Treydon Stukes, who went at 38.
Right after
and the reason I'm I'm not so sure that it would be Jacob Rodriguez is they could have tried to make a trade with all of those other teams ahead, because Jacob Rodriguez went another 6 picks later. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So and if they were willing to offer that package, I'm sure someone would have bit on that. It wouldn't have just been the Giants that would have passed. So I don't know if it was Jacob Rodriguez. And with Stukes, I mean, maybe is Stukes a guy that they would have thought that highly of to go get? I don't know. Based on how they've addressed safety and didn't take a safety after that, maybe it was. Maybe it was like, maybe it was Stukes, and then once he was off the board, they were like, okay, the value's not there for him. But like, I don't know. There's no player that is like for sure. It would have been this guy, right? Yeah. And I do think Rodriguez would have made sense. Again, Stukes would have made sense, but I don't think they would have made any more sense than Derek Moore. So, are we led to believe that it was Derek Moore and no one else just like that package? I don't know. It's right. Nothing's clean is what I guess I'm saying. That there's no obvious like, oh, they were certainly going to try and pull this move off.
I think the more interesting theory out there, and it actually came from the Pride of Detroit feed, and I think it's very interesting, is what if this was a deal that was in place contingent on someone being there and he wasn't there? Mm-hmm. And the idea being it was Caden McDonald, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State, who's kind of a nose, a position they needed and didn't actually address at all this offseason, which maybe is a reason, maybe is a argument that wasn't the target. But you have this deal in place with the Giants, and then Houston comes up, trades above the Giants, and gets Caden McDonald. And so then you say, trade off. That was our guy. We're just going to wait. I don't know. Like, I think it's a compelling argument. I think it's an interesting thing to consider. Obviously, that would have been a bit of a head scratcher at the time to trade so many picks for a nose type player when edge remained such a big need. I would imagine it would have been pretty highly unpopular in Detroit if he had made that move, but it's something to certainly consider. And amongst all the other theories, that one makes the most sense to me, other than them trading up to get Derek Moore. or just doing their due diligence.
I think maybe Brad was just messing with people too.
Yeah.
Just wants to put that trade offer in and then pull it back at the last minute and be like,
You just think he's trolling other front offices?
That'll teach you, Baltimore. Don't. This is paybacks for Max Crosby.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe there's collusion. Maybe everyone did that to Baltimore draft weekend. It's just like, hey, we don't appreciate what you did with Max Crosby, so we're all just going to agree in principle to a trade and then back out in the last moment. All right, let's move on from that story. Certainly an interesting thing to think about, but probably something we'll never really know unless the Lions, for whatever reason, decide they want to release their end of those conversations, which they're not. They're not going to. Damian Smith with a question here at Indy Smith on Twitter says, on John Ledyard and Ali Connolly's podcast this week, they say that the Lions' trade-up bets like Sione Vaki and Giovanni Manu have not been turning into sustainable depth, which has been filled by cheap free agents. What do you think of this critique?
Well, I disagree with the Vaki one because Vaki has the special teams value that I think they were targeting, and he's also stepped into that RB3 role that I think most were anticipating he would take on, right? And the fact that they didn't draft another running back and they didn't bring anybody else in outside of Pacheco, who is really replacing Montgomery, I think Vaki has been fine. He missed some games with a couple injuries last year, but I don't think that warrants it's not worth the value. The Manu thing, I mean, sure. I mean, that makes everybody's been arguing that point that they were hoping Manu would turn into something more than what he has become. So it's hard to disagree with Manu not providing the value in that trade up.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I obviously don't love the trade ups. I don't love giving away future picks, especially in those middle rounds where you could use the depth, right? With the Vaki trade, you traded a future fourth, swapped a couple picks in that year's draft. It's not like devastating. Like, would this team be way better with that 2025 fourth round pick that they gave up? No. But I almost like this, of all the reasons I don't like this, I don't think this is a particularly compelling argument because it almost feels like it's not a critique. It's just you're taking a different strategy. You're filling out the middle to end of your 53-man roster with rookies versus 1-year deals for vets. And both of those strategies can work, right? Like, the Lions didn't have to break the bank to fill out that depth this free agency, right? They got a lot of guys that I kind of like. You got a Damone Clark who can be in that linebacker role. You can Roger McCreary, Christian Izzy, like all these guys signed for very reasonable deals. And the upside of doing it in free agency versus a fourth round pick is those guys can contribute now. Like they have NFL special teams experience. They have defensive experience or offensive experience. And so in a way, it's almost like on a smaller scale, it's almost a win now move to fill some of your reserve spots with these 1-year deals with veterans that have proven they can contribute versus these projects or guys that are only coming out of the box as special teamers that you shouldn't be relying on a lot of, rookie contributions from in the fourth round or later. Because remember, like even Amon-Ra, the poster child of a home run hit on day 3 of the draft, didn't produce until November of his rookie season. Like, I do want this team to build out a young, cheap, middle class of their roster through the draft. But to say that is the only way to do it, or that's the right way to do it, ignores the fact that the Lions can do what they've done over the past couple of years and build out that depth through free agency on cheap relative deals. Now, it's not easy, right? Like, everyone is going to be vying for certain free agents, and you're going to have to, negotiate and beat out other teams and find the right fits for your program. But I guess I don't see this as a huge drawback. To me, the drawback is just well, you like to draft and develop. You'd like these guys to be here for 3 or 4 years rather than one. You'd like to be able to draft guys that you're pretty comfortable with fitting in your program and developing under your program and developing under your culture. But like, I think the Lions have fixed the problem that of these sustainable depth pieces with free agents that should fit quite well. I mean, they've had a pretty decent track record of it. They're not 100% perfect, but like, you talk about some of the guys that they lost this offseason that were devastated to lose, whether it's David Montgomery or, Roy Lopez, Amik Robertson. Those were those kind of signings. Your depth guys that developed into something a little bit more than that, or played a little bit bigger of a role, that, yeah, you could have filled with draft picks, but you can't fill everything with draft picks. And so I don't like the trade ups. I don't like the jumping into future draft picks, but it's not, to me, it's not that strong of a criticism to say like, well, now how are you going to find depth?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough without having the full context to be able to
sure,
weigh in too much.
Yeah. All right. Next question here comes from Patrick Case. Says, I've been thinking about Brad Holmes' lack of trade downs in recent drafts and have found myself wondering if it's partly a function of worsening draft position due to improved team success. It might be easier to want to trade down from the top 1/3 of a round versus trading down from the bottom third. Regardless, I'm glad that the rumored Giants offer never materialized.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think a little easier to trade back when you're in the top half or at least the top third of the draft, because that's where those blue chip players are, right?
Yeah, on the first round, right?
Yeah, right. And we talk about it all the time. If you can get a blue chip player, you go and you get a blue chip player. And if it requires a little bit of trade up because you have extra capital, then it's worth it. And, once you get out of that range or the blue chip players are gone and you're in the back third, certainly is going to be a lot harder to make that move. So I agree with that. I also think, as far as the philosophy overall, it just speaks to Brad targeting specific guys and then saying, I want these are the guys I want. These are the guys that fit. And so therefore I want to go get those guys before I miss out on them, because I think either the way I'm reading the draft, those guys might not be there. Or, I'm getting a little ants in my pants and I just want to get moving. And Dorsey can't hold me back any longer. So, I respect that approach. And so I don't have much issue with it.
I don't think I buy this excuse.
What do you mean?
They're picking later, therefore it's a little bit harder to trade down.
I certainly think once you get out of the blue chip players, it's you got to have somebody specific in mind.
No doubt, but I think you can find that. I mean, here's the trades that happened on round 1. So the Chiefs went from 9 to 6. The Cowboys went from 12 to 11. The Eagles went from 23 to 20. The Texans went from 28 to 26. And the Dolphins went from 30 to 27. And actually there's two more. The Bills went from 31 to 28. And the 49ers the Jets went from 33 to 30.
Yeah, I think this every year is going to be different because of the population of players.
No doubt.
But 2, this year felt like teams were just jumping teams, like on purpose.
Yeah.
Like that's where they were only making trade ups like 2-3 spots.
Right.
Is they were like, we got to get ahead of this team, not necessarily we want to make like these.
Well, it's all part of it. It's all part of it, right? And so like if you look at most of the trades, they happened 20 or later in the first round. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Happened 20 or later.
I think this year was a very unusual draft.
Here's the thing. Like, if you trade in the top third, you're going to get more return. No doubt about it. Like, there is, like, if you look at the trade charts, like, the value of trading down is more compelling. And maybe that's why. We saw the Lions do that once, obviously. I mean, part of the reason, again, though, is like the one guy that they wanted. We joked about it on the PODcast. Like, sometimes I wonder if Brad Holmes' lesson from that draft is we should have traded up and gotten Devin Witherspoon, not good trade down. Because of how much he loves his guys. Like, and listen, we're not going to rehash that debate a million times. That's clearly what Brad Holmes values more than like, hey, why settle for a couple of guys that we're not as excited about versus the one guy that we really want. Don't always agree with that strategy, but that's where we're at. But to me, like, if he wanted to trade down, if that was a goal, the opportunities are there. I think no matter where you are in the draft, you're gonna find a team. People are on the phone all the time, and I think the reason why the Lions don't do it might be draft position, but the reasoning for that is because the value is so much that Brad might be finally willing to like waver from his strategy a little bit. It's to me, it's not that there aren't opportunities. It's just that the price of trading out of the top 10 garners you so much more than trading from 13 to 14, or in the Lions case, 17 to 20. You're not going to get as much. And so it's less worth it to him. But I don't think it's an opportunity thing. I think it's more of a, well, so what? We get a fourth? I'd rather get the guy I want. Again, if that's how he feels, that's fine. I'm not going to harp on it too much. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, more Detroit Lions questions. We're going to answer a bunch of questions about defensive scheme, personnel, any sort of hints we can get about the Lions offseason moves. When we come back right here on the Midweek Mailbag, we'll be right back. You guys just want to see us get into the trade down argument once again.
No.
All right.
Also, Drew says that Craig Reynolds is better than Vaki. The Lions certainly don't think so, because the Lions think
Craig
Jacob
is
not on the
is
line.
better than Craig Reynolds.
Right. So, you can have that opinion and that's fine, but the Lions and Dan Campbell and the coaching staff strongly disagree with that.
Yeah. What do they know? Exactly. All right. We are live on Twitch. We are live on YouTube. We're also available in the feed because I wanted to see if we could get some action in the feed. So all those watching live in the feed, shout out to you guys. I was hoping to also get some questions from the feed. I see Blitzing Lion is in the feed chat. We were actually already going to take that question because I believe, we already have you on the outline for the second segment. So we'll get to that in a little bit. Blitzing Lines, I got your message on Twitter and I liked your question, so we'll definitely tackle it. But if anyone else is watching over on the feed, shout out to you guys. Feel free to leave a comment over there and I'll try to get to your question at some point. Here's a good question for you from YouTube. Dropping any new Lions Breakdown podcast episodes?
Yes. At some point. Yeah. It's there's some stuff that we're working out, and timing hasn't worked out just yet. But yeah, there's a plan in place. It's just hasn't resulted in anything just yet, but yeah.
Just like the Lions, you're kind of looking over everything you did last year and changing your schedule accordingly.
No, there's some stuff that can't be avoided. That's all.
Yeah. Super Crin. Yeah, sure. Go ahead. You can throw it in the chat here. I'm not sure if it's something that we're going to get to or not, but either way, I can tell you. I want to start with alerts a couple days ago because I missed them. And plus, they're directly referencing something you said.
Oh, no.
So I realized I missed a couple that I should go back and shout out. Oh, man, I missed a bunch, I feel like. Zern Baby Zern, 57 months says, oh, here comes old Rams fan Jeremy. Oh, you know what? We did get to that one because then I put on my Matthew Stafford jersey for the second half. Cram 930 80 months says, anyone want to give me a summary of Jeremy's wet blanketing? I need to get more of that in my life, unlike certain reviewers. Which is a reference to a review who went from like 5 stars to 1 star because I was apparently being too negative this offseason. Which, hey, I don't think I've been that negative, but
no more than normal.
I got called out the other day on the website for saying that the Lions were still in their Super Bowl window. Someone said, "Oh, it's cute. You think they're still in their Super Bowl window?" Although I think it was a Bears fan, so who cares what they think? Spielman Hall of Fame, 39 months is my Jake Bates anniversary. Wade Mock, thank you for following on Twitch. Knoxville Lions fan, 45 months says it's my Jerome Felton and TJ Duckett anniversary. Love those references, even if that's a Sparty. Nick the Greek, again, this is still from 2 days ago. 100-bit says, tell me your recent fast food experience that you had that made you feel like kind of okay about the... No, I don't know why I even started that one. Nick the Greek, 200 more bits says, and this is the one that I want you to address. So still can't get over how shamefully Erik butchered the Family Guy boat meme in the last Mailbag podcast. That is a heavily used meme. Erik is in 50-year-old dad territory now.
Well, first of all, I can't help but be accurate. But I wasn't trying to do the Family Guy thing. I know there's another one, but there was another joke or another entity that made that joke before Family Guy did. And I wasn't really trying to do it. And then I was like, oh, well, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. I mean, like, that's fine. I'm glad I can provide entertainment. And it wasn't just Nick. I mean, there was a bunch of people that commented on that stuff.
That's true.
But
for the non-Pride of Detroit Derek subscribers, I'm trying to, like, I don't remember the full context, but you were just trying to make the argument of, if the Lions, it was probably a trade down thing where it's like, yeah, if you trade down, you could get anybody. You could even get a Derek Moore.
Right. Essentially.
Yeah.
I don't remember the full context either.
Yeah.
To be honest.
But you kept saying, like, yeah, you could get the speedboat, but then, maybe you get a speedboat anyways.
Well, I think I was a little closer than that, but
not much.
But okay.
All right, let me get through the rest of alerts here.
Don't worry. Nick sent me a message on multiple social media platforms that also match that. Yeah, so like Nick finds a way to get his message across. No worries.
Paul tweets too much. Thank you for the follow on Twitch. How Now Brown Cow, 36 months subscribed to the channel. Subscribed 9 hours ago, so off stream. So appreciate you, How Now Brown Cow, if you're still here. G Money, thank you for the 38 months on Twitch. Says happy Wednesday, y'all. I graduate tomorrow. Thank you for getting me through all these study sessions. Hey, congrats, G Money. That's exciting. I get, assuming that's a college graduation. Welcome to the real world. It's all right over here. I hope you have jobs lined up, job and or jobs. State Nate, think of the 65 months. You want to guess what anniversary they called the 65-month anniversary?
Tyrell Crosby.
Damian Woody.
All right. Wow. All right.
Kyle G, 15 months. Maybe the more obvious anniversary here.
No.
15. Golden Tate.
No.
No?
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. Light Horse, 41 months, says would have, should have, might have. In the end, we may have who we have, and let's hope it's enough. I mean, yeah. It's fun to rehash some of these would have trades now, but like once the Lions' version of Inside the Den is out, then we can stop. But what else are we going to talk about for the next 2 months? QNote, 17 months subscribed on Twitch, says it's Erik Hipple, Tim Patrick, Marvin Hall, Trinity Benson's anniversary. Or a 17-0 season incoming?
Ooh.
I like that one the best. Tracy Payne, thank you for subscribing on YouTube. And Blitzing Lion, $2 super chat, says, I just want to have a lucid dream of Brad's draft board.
Oh. Be fun.
It would be.
We talked about it. We talked about, I think was it on the one of the PODD episodes where we talked about the fact that back in the day, they used to bring in the Lions front office used to bring the media in after the draft and show them what the draft board looked like and talk about why they took one guy over another. And it wasn't for it wasn't for a publication, but it was just like to give the writers a better understanding of like
why they made the picks,
what their thought process was, why they made exactly. And man, that I look, I feel that, man. I that would be fantastic.
Right. And I mean, I have to imagine it would help further things like the grid index, right? Like you'd have a better sense of
man.
The question is like, how would they let you, they probably wouldn't let you take pictures of it. So you'd have to just like
memorize it
in your head. I mean, there's like zero chance they would let you photograph it. Certainly today, probably not even back then, although.
I mean, they wouldn't, they don't want me helping the Bears out, which is apparently what the grid index is made for now.
Well, you don't know. Well, here's the thing. We don't know if the grid index's correlation with success is not a thing yet.
Yeah.
So maybe you're throwing them off. Maybe you're getting the Bears to buy into a system that fails.
Can you imagine if I was that devious? like I was like, listen, this is the plan. I'm going to slowly cultivate a relationship with Ben Johnson because I know he's going to end up at a division rival.
Yeah. Well, no.
During that time, I'm going to spend hours upon hours upon hours developing a system that doesn't work.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think now that Brad is clearly copying your homework, I think we need to throw the grid index next year. I think you need to say the worst football character players 9.9 on the grid index. Now, it may come at your own reputation, and the entirety along the way, people are going to be like, what are you talking about? This guy sucks. Why is he a 9.9 Raz?
No, follow me, man. Great. Follow me, guys. Trust me. Trust me, bro.
We need like winking emojis all over the place.
Oh, good. Anthony's listening.
Large is an undercover grit index operative. That's right. We'll hear from Anthony a little bit in the second segment here because he had a good question that I want to talk about as well. Okay, we're caught up, so let me scroll back and see if there's some good questions to get to.
Can I answer one real fast?
Yeah, please.
Kyle, with the grit index, looking back, it's so much data to go through manually to try and do that it's not realistic. But Anthony has gone back and looked at the Lions picks and like retroactively like looked at like how they would have reread their art, like their profiles and stuff, and then said, oh, look, this is how they would have graded in this. And he's done that before. He's done a lot of work this time of year, going back and seeing what did we miss? What did we not miss? Where are we on the right track? And so it would be too hard to go back and like do that for like an entire class. But Anthony has certainly put in a lot of research on the current guys that are in the Lions system.
Yeah. There you go. California Lions asks, given that we still don't have clarity on Kirby, do we think they have to cut him at the end of the year? Do you think the combo of him being one of their guys and Brad's willingness to take on injury risk will risk them trying to hold on when they shouldn't? hard to say, right? At this point.
It really is, just because we don't know the severity of it. Like if the
Right.
severity of it is like, hey, he's never going to be the guy he was, and he's a risk of not playing and on any given week. It's a gamble to see if he'll even suit up every week from now on. Like, yeah, that's they'll move on from that. You know what I mean? But it's so hard to speculate.
Right. I mean, listen, given just the relative pessimism we've dealt with for almost a full calendar year at this point, like, it's a reason why in this past offseason, I said I'm guessing this is probably his last year in a Lions uniform, but a lot can change, right? Like, this is just an educated guess, and I think the Lions probably don't know for sure right now either, right? I think they want to see how well he can manage it during a season. Because I think that's ultimately what it's going to come down to. I don't think this is something that goes away. I don't think this is something that you can expect him to just be 100% now. I think it's something to the case of, okay, how can he manage it? How much pain is he in? How much is that pain or discomfort or whatever affecting his play on the field? And that's not something they're going to know until he's out there doing it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you almost have to look at it like Taylor Decker last year. Like, is this a case where Kirby is not going to practice at all? Like, he's just going to be a guy that shows up on Sundays because they don't want to risk it. They don't want to, overwork it. Or is this something where, like, he can practice most days and show up? And no one has the answers to that question. I don't care how deep of a medical background you have. Like, no one knows those answers. But given that, like, most, like, the fact that Dan says it's not something that goes away, it's something that you manage, tells me that they might want to get out of that before the next option bonus kicks in, which is a pretty hefty option bonus. Ice Cecil with a kind of similar question wanted your thoughts on what it would look like for the defense if for some reason Kirby and Branch weren't able to return until halfway through the season or later.
I think Christian Izien is going to be the guy who ultimately takes the Brian Branch role.
Yep.
That's my speculation. And then Thomas Harper is Kirby.
Yeah.
That
you like
would
him
be
better
my
than Maddox?
I do. I think he has a little bit more range. Maddox is obviously more experienced and
Sure.
intelligent. I thought Maddox played really well. Maddox will also, I think, push Izzy for the Branch spot,
sure.
in my opinion.
That's probably a better fit for him, but he's capable of playing both.
He can play them all. Yeah, really. And so if I had to guess today, it'd be Harper and Izzy as your starters. And you know what? If Kirby plays, it could also be Kirby and Harper. Like, I think Harper's the guy that they saw. He made some big leaps last year, and I'm guessing, but he looks like a guy that I think does what a lot of what they are looking for in a safety.
I'm torn with Harper because, like, generally speaking, the Lions tend to favor their veterans, right? They tend to favor a guy like Maddox ahead of him. But, like, the man did start 9 games last year, and a lot of those were early on.
Yep.
Early-ish on. Week 7 is when he got his first start. That's kind of when the Kirby stuff happened.
Over Maddox, too, right?
Correct. Yes. Now, I think part of that might be because they like Maddox backing up several spots, right?
Yeah.
But man, I don't know. I'd like to see more out of Harper. I do like that they could have him around long term, right? He's 25.
Yeah, like he flashed with the Raiders.
Yeah.
And then when they cut him, the Lions jumped at that. And so I thought he progressed well. And like I said, when he was given the opportunity, I thought he played well. And there's bumps and bruises along the way, but it's a young player, especially a young player thrown into the fire, kind of. And so
Right.
I'm optimistic. I think he does a lot of what they are hoping to see.
Steven over on YouTube says, if we have a few years similar to this past year, does Sheila have, quote, Steelers patience with this regime? If she made a single change, who goes, Brad or Dan? This is kind of similar to a question we're going to take, which is in reference to the Rich Eisen show about Dan Campbell being on the hot seat. But I'm happy to answer this one because I think the answer is yes. I think Sheila has a lot of faith in this regime. She showed it early, right? When the Dan Campbell hot seat stuff started, when they went 1-6 in 2022. And I think her confidence in this regime is skyrocketed since then. And while I'm sure she and everyone in that building understands that last year was unacceptable, I don't think it necessarily wavered their faith in this regime at all. At all. I think they are so secure and happy with the fact that they have an identity. We talked a little bit about this. Was it with you? Yeah, on the mailbag that we recorded yesterday. Like how they're so authentically themselves, maybe for the first time in my lifetime, that there would have to be like a drastic turnaround in fortunes, in culture, in all those things, for me to believe that this team is needing a change, or believes they even think they need a change. I think fans, analysts, radio hosts, they're going to get impatient if they're kind of in that purgatory 9-8, 10-7, 8-9 for the next 2 or 3 years. I'm not so sure the front office is going to not care. It's the wrong word, but overreact or impulsively act or decide the grass is greener. Like, I think this year is going to be a fascinating year in the data point for that, because the Ravens changed head coaches, the Steelers changed head coaches, like a bunch of these teams that have kind of been in that mediocrity, whatever, for 3, 4, 5,
years.
6, 8, 20 years. Yeah.
They're 18-year coaches, right? So
right. And we'll have a data point to see, was that the right decision? Was that the wrong decision? It's not going to prove anything one way or the other, but it's just going to be an interesting mark, I think, in NFL history to see that adage of like, do you need to do something drastic to get out of mediocrity? And I don't know.
I've seen them try it before, and I've seen it blow up in their face, of course, before as well.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have to go that far back in Detroit Lions history to find that, right?
No. Like 10 years.
Yeah. It kind of blew up in their face when they said, you know what, 9-7 isn't good enough. And it's not necessarily to say Jim Caldwell was the answer, but
right.
Things were better then.
Better than in the coming 4 years, yes.
Yes. Baxter asks about some personnel changes. We're going to cover that in the second segment, so don't worry about that. Apex asks, how are we feeling about the Patriots game? What do you like that being the international game?
No.
Why not?
No. Because they're a good team. All right.
And you'd rather have the home field advantage for that game? Is that?
Yeah. I'd rather have a good team come into Ford Field than go on a leveled playing field. When you go internationally, like, there's so many squirrely things that could happen.
Yeah.
You lose your advantage. And so having two teams that are both presumably going to be playing really good ball.
Yeah.
Again, we're speculating, but
sure.
So many things can like throw a wrench in the works and cause a good team to play a bad game.
Yeah.
And that's not a game that I wanted to be determined on a delayed flight or mechanical problems on the runway or, tarmac issues.
An airline going out of business.
Right, like, oh, the hotel didn't have enough rooms, so they had to double up. You know what I mean? Like,
Enough of
like,
that thing.
I'm just saying,
I will.
weather,
Yeah,
like unfamiliar, like jet lag, like, oh,
sure.
there's so many stupid things and I'd hate for a good game to be determined by that.
Yeah,
And unknown, because like you said, like when you're in your write up, the Lions, this regime and these players, they've never done this.
true.
They just haven't. And so
Right.
like with so many unknowns, I don't want to play a good team when the variables could cause me unperceived or unexpected problems.
On top of that, the Patriots have played in Germany before. They've had some German-born players, so like, there's probably going to be a fair amount of Patriots contingents there. Like, they have a somewhat established fan base there as well. Now, obviously, the Amon Ra and all that
Yep.
sort of stuff.
It's going to be all Honolulu blue in that stadium.
I don't think that's true. But I think the other aspect of this, and this is where season ticket holders are kind of getting screwed here. That was like one of 2 or 3 games that were actually like kind of interesting. You buy your season tickets, and now you're gonna get Jets, Giants, like Titans,
Saints, Bucks, and then division.
right? It's not great. It's not a great home slate. Like
Your
you're hopefully going to see a lot of
games-
wins, which is maybe ultimately the only thing that matters. But
right outside of the division, it's the Bucks.
right,
Right.
yes,
So.
and that also likely means if you have a fair amount of primetime games this year, like 2 or 3 of those might be at home, but your away schedule again is a little bit more.
I think you
intriguing
could.
For
Yeah, you could any time Green Bay or Chicago. Yeah, any division game could be a prime time. Bucks could be a prime time. Heck, Giants or Jets, just because they're New York markets, they could make those
I suppose
prime times if they wanted.
that's true. I think the Giants are going to get a lot of time games.
The only one that it won't is the Titans. That game's a 1:00 game, folks.
I'll take it. Delu asks, who takes a bigger step this year? Christian Mahogany, assuming he wins left guard, or Isaac Tisslaw? Just say it. Just say it. Yeah, there you go.
Mahogany, because I'm gonna sound like a broken record. I think the style of football that I'm expecting them to play fits Mahogany better. That being said, I do expect Tesla's opportunities to increase, his production to increase. He'll go from having 31% of snaps to like closer to 50, or at least in mid 40s, mid to high 40s, and so percentage of snaps, and so he's going to get his chance. But I mean, Mahogany's going to be out there every right. snap, ideally. Right. So
plus, there's only so much ball to go around, right?
Right.
There's
and
so many.
We were talking about it in yesterday's part 2. With so many talented players, and they're only like 400 completions to be spread around.
Yeah.
And Amon Ra takes a quarter of it himself, like at a minimum. Like now Tesla's got to fight Gibbs, Laporta, JMO, before he even gets into the conversation. So
I guess the part that might tip the scales a little bit more towards Tisla, my answer is still Christian Mahogany, but I think the part where it gets a little bit interesting, and you probably won't agree, but I think I'm a little bit more confident in Tisla's ability right now. And I think that's some with the way he was playing towards the end of the season versus, Mahogany obviously took a step back both before the injury and after the injury. Plus, I just there's less competition, right? Like if Christian Mahogany struggles out of the gate, if he wins the job but then struggles out of the gate, I'm not going to put it by them to put in Miles Frazier, to put in Ben Barcher, to put in whoever is pushing him. No one's pushing Isaac Tisslaw for wide receiver 3. That's his job. He got it. He won it. It's his.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that, but who knows? Like maybe Christian Mahogany just needs a little bit of fire behind him to take the next step.
Maybe not a broken leg to work through.
That helps.
That might
too.
help. That might help. Yeah,
certainly. All right. Jeremy's done a lot of research on what is a sandwich. Listen, I eat a lot of sandwiches. That's personal research. If you want to feel sad, watch the latest PODD exclusive mailbag. It made me feel really sad for 2027 secondary.
Yeah, I think the secondary is going to be the biggest focus next year.
Yeah.
Because there's so many unknowns with the safeties.
For sure. And the corners.
and contractually with the corners, yeah.
Nick the Greek, you literally just missed it about 10 minutes ago. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. With the move to smaller pass rushers, could we see more of that drop into coverage?
It is interesting to see them go lighter opposite Aiden with guys who can drop, and it does make me wonder. I have thrown this out there that I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing the Sam role include a guy like Derek Moore,
right,
as opposed to Derek Barnes, and then they shift Barnes over to like the inside Will, and like it gives you better pass rushers if you do that, and both Wanham and Moore can stand up from the edge. And so, and you same thing with some of their depth guys. Like they just brought Anthony Lucas in officially, right? Like he can stand up. Like he can reduce and he can stand up. He's another guy who fits a similar mold. You got Peyton Turner there as well. I'm sure Hassanein's going to learn that'll be part of his development as well. So it certainly looks that way. Downgrade. Yeah.
All right. I was just scrolling back down to see if I missed anything. Shoot. Where was I? Oh, Sid and the Half has it. It is starting to feel like the offense is going to have to boat race every team, at least to start the season. Would you agree it's unlikely the defense starts off locking teams down? Depends who they play. Is that a cop-out answer? Probably not going to lock down the Bills in week 2, but
that's going to be their hardest game.
Maybe on the schedule.
Maybe of the season. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? This time last year, we were probably saying the same thing about that Ravens game.
Yeah, it kind of was. That was before they fell apart.
Well,
right?
They were
just starting to. They were just starting to.
They had already lost Midweek.
That was the game, right? I mean, essentially, like they lost in the game before. They thought he might be able to come back. Derrick Henry was like, all of a sudden he went on a fumble streak as well, which was crazy. They learned how to use a spy properly. Like it was all kinds of fun things.
Yeah,
that was arguably their best
game of the season. It was that one or the Bucks game right before the bye.
The Bucks game was so crazy because it was like, it was like
the Legion of Boom game.
Yeah, I mean, like you took this ragtag group and like turned them into an NFL defense, and whereas the Ravens game was more like good on good, let's go toe to toe. That's what I liked about that game.
Where's the list of Brad Holmes draft picks who score lowest on the grit factor list versus height, weight, speed? Melifanu, Sorsdal, Gio, Broderick.
I don't
think you've made anything like that.
Yeah, no. Here, I'll look it up. I'll look up Broderick real fast.
Caldwell was such a good head coach. He obviously got another head coach job after the Lions, right? Got a lot of interviews. I remember when the Bears interviewed him. And then they landed on, what's his name? Can't call timeout guy. What's his name?
Yep.
That's his name? Okay, great.
Yeah. He came from Indy. I'm blanking on his name too. Kyrie West is actually doesn't have great Raz or grit combined. Broderick was
Eberflus, thank
you. A
you.
little bit lower.
Eberflus.
Yeah, Broderick's grit score was. Oh wait, no, I don't have a grit score for him. But his Raz score was certainly low. Broderick's Raz score was 2.15. Two. Ugh, brutal. Of all the defensive tackles that they've had, he is. Oh no, there's a couple other that are worse. Benito Jones, Miles Brown.
When are they going to just sign Benito Jones?
P.J. Johnson. I don't know. Maybe they don't like Benito Jones's 1.33 RAS score.
He was fine here, though.
I agree. Again, you'll notice the trend is it's nose tackles that are not scoring well.
Right, I was going to say, someone needs to talk to Kent about giving some nose tackles some love, adjusting the scale somehow for nose tackles.
How hard is it like to do that though? Because of teams like use them and use players
right.
in so many different ways, and so many players are hybrids now. Like it's a daunting task for Kent to keep it.
What about bench press? Bench press isn't even included, right?
No, it is.
It is included in RAS? Why did I feel like it wasn't?
It is.
Oh. Well.
Yeah, Broderick was 20. That's how many bench press he had. Excuse me. Which is understandable with his long arms, but still not awesome. Bench press is it's hard because of that, like the arm length and stuff like that, which is why I was so impressed with Blake Miller.
Right. True.
Throwing up 32.
Bam.
With 34.5-inch arms. Like that's tough.
All right, I got to take a quick bathroom break. Hold down the fort for 90 seconds.
Man, that's a lot of information. I saw a question about Kendrick Law. Argantis. So let's see. Could Kendrick Law do some RB2-3 snaps? I have talked about this a little bit. I think he could. I don't think they necessarily need him to do that. Like if they want to disguise something, like where they put out like 4 wide receivers and then just one back, and then they shift him into the backfield and then shift, Jameer out or something like that, they could be tricky and do stuff like that. But with Gibbs and Vaki, it's not something that would be a regular thing. They did it with Amon-Ra a few times, and I'd rather see them do those types of situations with Law than Amon-Ra. But I think those are just going to be a handful of things. A handful of times. I don't think it's going to be anything like consistent.
LJ. First thing I come back and see is LJ trying to troll me.
I wonder if anyone started the timer on that.
What'd I clock in at? We got a couple alerts while I was gone. Did you say those or no?
No.
Well,
no, I answered one question.
Great. I mean, that's not surprising at all. In fact, I'm actually surprised you're not still answering the first question.
Well, I was, and then you came in and interrupted. So
fair. Do you want to finish your thought, or should I get to the 3 alerts?
Go ahead.
Quirky Zerky, 54 months, which is, of course, as they say, the Aleem and Spielman anniversary. 54 points is also how many points we were putting up on Green Bay in Green Bay.
Ooh.
I mean, Hafley's gone. Who did they replace Hafley with?
The Arizona head coach.
Oh, right. Gannon. You know what they're going to do?
They're going to think they know.
No, they're going to allow explosives. Explosion.
They're gonna think they know. They're gonna think they know what Petzing is gonna do, and Petzing's gonna go, no, I have offensive players now. Like, I can do something. I can do a whole lot of different stuff.
That's a fair point too. Jack Campbell pictured at practice 5'11". A lot of rookies in yesterday's photos. Yeah, so that makes sense because I was wondering when the rookies were going to come in and actually do stuff. Because that's obviously when I would have expected all the signings to happen. Let's. I kind of want to look at that now. Let's look at some rookie photos. I'll get to the other alerts in a second because I haven't looked at these yet. I'll share them with you so you get to watch them too. Desktop, you guys probably want to see it. I recognize that guy. Are we not going to go full screen? Great. Here, I'll zoom in for you guys. It's Jimmy Rolder. DJ Reed. Ooh, I'm bad at this game of guessing who they are. Christian Isian.
It's Isian, but he looks I'm trying to remember who he looks like. Never mind, I'm not gonna even try. I'm so bad at names lately.
That's Keith Abney.
Yep.
This is Rucker, and if you knew that without looking,
did not know that.
Congratulations, you are a psycho. Or related to Rucker. See him. Oh, that's Roger McCreary.
Yeah.
It's Tyree West.
Okay.
I'm guessing the tight end.
Kitzelman?
Maybe? Nope. Oh, that is
Rolder
not Jimmy
again.
Rolder, is it? I don't know.
Oh.
You're telling me that's Jimmy Rolder?
Okay.
I have me again. Spoiler.
Yeah.
Nope. No idea. Oh,
Yep.
Morris Brown.
UDFA. That's Miles Adams.
That is Miles Adams. Well done. Oh, that's Skylar Howard.
You get his haircut?
I was going to say, he has dreads typically, so maybe he got his haircut. Not sure who that is.
Derek Moore.
Close.
Oh, no. So close. Hey, there's my guy.
Is that Blake? Yeah.
Yep.
All right, easy one. God, he looks very familiar to me.
Is that Chuck Clark?
Ooh, Kendrick Law.
Oh, gosh. Wow. I was way off. Pacheco. Ryan Gosling.
Free car wash. I have no idea.
I feel like
Oh, that's Kendrick Law
we
again.
just saw him. Yeah, I was like, we just saw him.
Is that Brock, right?
Brock. Yep.
Well, he's okay. No worrying about him. Oh my gosh.
Tyler
Conklin's beard.
Yeah.
Is he in the NHL playoffs right now? What's happening? All right, that's everybody. That was fun. All right. All right. I do see a chat about a potential schedule leak, but I don't actually see it on Twitter anywhere, so I'm not going to say it out loud in case it's not true. But who knows? Okay. Is Moore the first front seven player to wear single digits here?
I mean, they only allowed that in the past like handful of years, so I would imagine.
Yeah. Maybe. Lenoble, thank you for the 23 months subscribed on Twitch. Says I'm in my Jerry Jacobs era. Happy retirement to Jerry Jacobs. The one Lions player who blocked me for some reason. I'm still not entirely sure why. But he retweeted Pride of Detroit yesterday, so I guess fences mended. Or he just doesn't know who I work for. One of the two. Either way, no hard feelings. Happy retirement. Downgrade 22 months. Says my Bobby Lane anniversary. With the change with defensive end, could the best moving be moving to a Vikings hybrid style defense?
Not quite. Because the Vikings are a unicorn. That defense is a unicorn in how how they're called, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, Alliance kind of run a hybrid defense as it is. It's just not it's not going to be as attacking. It's not going to be schematically the same because the Vikings are like they lead the league in cover 0, but also lead the league in cover 4 type of stuff, right? Like it's just they're all over the map. I don't expect the Lions to be too extremist on those concepts. I expect them to repeat a lot of what they do, but also trying to get more flexibility coverage with their front 7.
All right. I'm going to take the next question from the feed over at prideofdetroit.com. A very funny question here, given the name of the user who submitted it. Pat O'Connor fan asks, of all the Lions 2026 draft picks, which do you see as being the next Pat O'Connor? As in a guy who doesn't seem like he's great at any one particular thing, but sticks around the league for a decade due to his positional versatility and work ethic. I think Rolder is actually a pretty good candidate for that. I see some versatility to his game to maybe play some Sam, maybe play some off ball, certainly be a special teamer for a very long time, which helps your longevity. And I think effort is not a question with him at all. I think he's going to be the good kind of football character guy that you want.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have a.
I hope it's Skylar Gill-Howard. The question is versatility there. I don't know if there's a ton of versatility there under the hood.
It'll depend on his strength, right? Like what kind of NFL strength does he build?
Yeah.
From a stylistic standpoint, not like a work ethic, stick around for 10 years type of thing, but a stylistic standpoint, I think West matches a lot of what O'Connor did well.
Yeah.
But I don't know, with West, it's a hard spot to have a sustainability in.
Sure. True. Okay. We are caught up. So we'll go back into the show. If you guys still have questions, whether you're on the feed, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch, I would say if you're on YouTube or Twitch, probably save it until after the next segment. We'll do some more live viewer questions after that. If you're on the feed over on Pride of Detroit, you can submit them at any point because there's only 2 comments right now. And so I won't lose your comments to a string of incoming comments happen. Wait, says Nick the Greek. Because 100 Bits says, why am I seeing a birth certificate for a little boy named Daniel Melvin Bradley Rossini making the rounds on Twitter? Can we stop with like the Melvin thing? Like, I mean, be a fan however you want to be a fan, but like reducing someone to like the first name that they no longer use. Is that the thing with Brad? Like, or was that his dad's name? I always forget like what they're actually trolling them with when they call him Melvin. It's very weird. All right. Anyways, we're gonna get back to it. Where was I in the mailbag?
We were on
Nyan.
Yep.
Okay. Welcome back to the Midweek Mailbag, your Detroit Lions Midweek podcast, answering your questions here on Twitter. Let's also, because we take questions from our Pride of Detroit Direct subscribers as well, this one comes from one such subscriber. Nyan asks, I've seen reputable national media, like Robert Mays from The Athletic, when talking about the dire center situation in Baltimore, suggests they make a call to Detroit for Juice Scruggs. First, do you think entertaining such a trade would be a good thing? Second, which compensation would you make for it?
Well, from a compensation standpoint, I think it would be low.
Yeah.
Like low. And with it being low and not having a really clear center 2 option, I'd rather go into camp or go into OTAs and kind of see what he has first.
Yeah.
And then if you're not liking what you see, then you can entertain it. But getting anything more than like a conditional like 7th is probably above expectations on the trade.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if they're super desperate, maybe you have a shot at like a 6th, maybe. But I feel like that's literally the ceiling, because I mean, obviously the way the Lions acquired him was via a trade in which they got a 4th for Dave Montgomery plus Juice Scruggs. Was there another pick thrown in there? I feel like maybe there was. I don't remember.
I think.
Now, they have options, right? Like,
sure.
I think some fans are a little bit too high on Seth McLaughlin, but
yes,
we'll see. Like, maybe he can surprise
Sure.
in training camp or OT. Probably not too much in OTAs with no pads on. We could, the Lions could always just rely on Michael Neese.
Yeah, he's experienced.
I was curious how you're going to react to that. They do have options, but both are relatively low ceiling choices. I mean, maybe you think Seth McLaughlin has a higher ceiling because of his history at Ohio State. Was he at Alabama?
And Alabama.
Alabama before that. But he is still much more
a project.
theory than proven at this point. Again, if you go into training camp and suddenly Seth McLaughlin is impressing you with the way he's absorbed the offense, with the way he's playing out there as presumably center 3, maybe working himself up to center 2 reps, sure, then you can talk about that. But I do think like the absolute most you're going to get for Juice Scruggs is a 6th, and that's very optimistic.
Yep. At this point, it's worth it just to kind of sit on your hands and see what he did, see what he's got.
Yeah. Next question comes from Tim Bowers. Asks, while it's absolutely crazy that there was an article about Dan being on the hot seat, if they don't make the playoffs this year, does the warming dial get the slightest nudge on him for Brad and Dan, given the seemingly easy schedule this year?
I mean, yeah, anytime you don't make the playoffs, the dial maybe will go up 1 notch, right?
Yeah.
But
sure.
I think their dial may go up to 11, like Spinal Tap. So they might have that extra little notch because of the culture they've created. So yeah, but I mean, certainly you can't to say that they can just lose and multiple and not miss the playoffs in multiple seasons and just be no worries, no problems type of thing. I think it's naive. So yeah, I would say it would go up, but I think they still have a lot of runway, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right. And I think it goes up I don't think the quote unquote easy schedule has anything to do with it, right? This team's bar has been raised to a point where anything below like an NFC championship appearance is a disappointment. And I don't think Dan Campbell is looking at the opponents this year, or maybe he already has a schedule and he's like, well, geez, we have to win 13 games with this schedule. We have to win 12 games with this schedule. Like, I don't think he's going to take any of those opponents easy. Not that you were suggesting he would, but I think we know enough about strength of schedule this far out that a lot of times it doesn't live up to what it actually looks like right now. But how warm can the seat get going into 2027. I mean, like, let's put it this way. If the guy from the Rich Eisen show had written or said what he said after, let's say, the Lions go 6-11 this year, I would not have written an article about it. I would not have thought it was a particularly hot take. If the Lions go from 15-2, get bounced in the divisional round, to 9-8, to 6-11, you're on the hot seat. Like, is it boiling? No, but if you go 5-12 or 6-11 again, like, there needs to be a conversation about whether you should continue to be the coach or not.
So my issue isn't with Brockman for bringing up the question, because I think that's part of his job is to throw controversial topics.
It was a segment called Overreaction Monday, and there's a reason why I put that at the top of the article. Like, I understand, like, you're throwing hot takes out there essentially.
Yeah, my issue is more with my Michigan man brethren here, Rich, for not just
saying, like, that's not a hot
stepping
take.
on that. Yeah, stepping on that emotion, like, right off the bat. Like, Rich, I love you. You got to defeat that right off the bat, man. Come on.
Right.
Don't entertain it.
And it was funny to see Brockman quote tweet us and be like, "This is hilarious. I'm one of Dan Campbell's biggest supporters." I'm like,
he kind of is.
Okay, but you just said that. You said things. I'm not saying you hate Dan Campbell. I'm saying you put a bad take out there, and he did. But I mean, that's, to me, the thing that kills me is that in his defense of his take, he held Dan Campbell to a higher standard than anyone else in the division.
Right, and again, Rich usually can sift through that a little bit better than I thought he did there. Again, I have high expectations for Rich, so maybe I'm holding him to a higher standard than maybe I should.
it's just like, and it's the reason why I put that tweet out there yesterday, which is, since Dan Campbell entered the NFC North, he is 2-2 in playoff games. Everyone else has 2 combined wins. Everyone else. And that includes Ben Johnson going 1-1 last year. It includes, offensive geniuses LaFleur going 1-4.
Guy LaFleur?
Guy LaFleur. And O'Connell going 0-2. Why isn't anyone calling for O'Connell's job? Why isn't anyone putting O'Connell on the hot seat?
Well, they fired the GM instead. That's what happened in Minnesota.
They fired the GM and, quarterback, blah, blah, like, whatever.
Yeah.
Excuse.
Just bring in as many quote unquote franchise quarterbacks as the offensive genius needs to, keep that offense sustainable while their defense wins them games. But okay. Sure.
Yeah. That's a great point. The offensive genius head coach of the Vikings being, maybe Brian Flores is the true head coach of that team, because based on their success, he's the one carrying him.
He needs to get a head coaching job.
He does.
My goodness. Get him out of Minnesota. Yeah.
Give them the 2 compensatory picks. I don't care.
Yeah, they don't have a GM.
It's fine.
And it's not going to be Ray Agnew either. Okay. Like, I know people are they saw that news come across. They're interviewing so many people.
Yeah, it's casting a wide net, and this is his first opportunity, right?
I thought he had another one, but nothing came up official, and so that could have just been me misremembering. But
they've had other people interview for general manager jobs. Lions have had Disner a couple times,
notably, yeah. But I don't think the Lions are going to be looking in any danger of losing Ray to the Vikings, but
I don't think so.
Fingers crossed.
Some have asked, in case you're wondering, whether the Lions would get compensatory picks for that, and the answer is yes.
Yeah,
they would.
Yeah.
Blitzing Lion. Next question says, I was looking at defensive stats when MCDC was calling play when MCDC was coach versus him being the offensive coordinator last year. So he means calling plays when he took over midway through season, weeks 1 through 9 versus weeks 10 through 18. So weeks 1 through 9, EPA was 6th. After, it was 23rd. Success rate was 7th before, 16th after. Dropback EPA was 5th before, 20th after, and rush EPA was 10th. 26. And for some reason, the rest of your question got cut off, but you were basically asking, do you think there's something to that or whether it was more injury related?
I think it was more injury related, but at the same time, I agree. My thought process when Dan was taking over play calling was it does take away from his head coaching duties, right? Like he's only has so many hours in a day and he's only one person. And when his head is in the offensive playbook, it's certainly going to be a distraction to what he pays attention to on defense. That being said, the second half of the season is really when the defense kind of like,
The injuries
suffered their most significant injuries. Right. So I do think there's maybe a little from column A and a little from column B, but mostly column B in the injury bucket.
Yeah, it's always really hard to say. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know everything that Dan Campbell does on game day and how that's impacted when he becomes the offensive play caller. But the one thing that kind of has me pushing against this narrative is that Dan is a pretty good delegator. And I imagine a lot of what he does defensively is pretty hands-off. He trusts Kelvin Sheppard.
Yeah.
And so whatever tweaks... I think in general, maybe the bigger impact is Monday through Saturday than it is on Sunday. Sunday,
yes, that's what I was implying. I agree with you 100%.
Right, like I don't think him, on the headset calling plays is necessarily too much of a distraction from what he'd be doing on the sidelines because again, like I think generally he's relatively hands off when it comes to play calling defensively, Kelvin Sheppard taking care of his business on his side of the ball. But yeah, like he's certainly not going to be in on defensive meetings. He might not be giving his input as much on a weekly basis. And given the fact that, that was Kelvin Sheppard's first year, maybe he needed that support a little bit more than, maybe going forward. Still, it's hard for me to ignore like, okay, well, you lost Brian Branch. Okay, well, you lost Kirby Joseph. Okay, well, and especially when you're dealing with like these relatively small sample sizes, 8 games, 9 games on each side.
Yeah.
Something as simple as like strength of opponent can sway what those numbers look like, right? You're going up against good running teams like the Steelers and the Vikings and to a lesser extent the Bears, but you played pretty well against the Bears. I'd have to look more into those numbers to see like did they face more tough offenses in the front half of the schedule or back half of the schedule. But it's certainly a hypothesis. It's certainly something that you can't prove one way or another. And something that I think we even talked about a little bit at the time. And I think Dan Campbell had been asked several times, like, do you feel like you're getting pulled away from the defense a little bit? And he mostly pushed against that and certainly admitted, like any reasonable person would, like, hey, my time is finite. Like, I can't be everywhere all the time. But he had enough trust in the defensive side of the ball where, for better or for worse, he thought it was the right move to do what he did. All right, next question here comes from Kevin McAllister on Twitter, also known as Everyone's Grudge. Says, is anyone else see Demo? And in this case, he means Damone Clark. Damone Clark.
No, I think he means Derek. I think he means Derek Moore.
Oh, maybe he does mean. You're
does
right.
He not?
I think you're right. I think he means Derek Moore. You're right.
I don't like Demo. No, we
have to find something.
Let's come
else.
up with a yes. Let's do something. It's too soon. Too soon.
Yeah. Anyone else see Derek Moore? Thank you for correcting me there. Splitting time with Derek Barnes as the Sam, but with more of a pass rush emphasis. He does have a decent film and coverage if he needs to do that.
Yes, I agree. That Derek Moore is probably going to get some of those situational looks, in my opinion, where they're going to stand him up as basically like a Sam because he's the better pass rusher. He's comfortable standing, and he hasn't dropped a ton, but he has some experience doing it, so he's not unfamiliar. Movement skills aren't bad, and the shift I'm expecting with the linebacker unit is hopefully, to try and get Derek Barnes in more of a, you know, inside linebacker, but like inside linebacker will roll. Um, it makes sense to try and utilize Derek more if you're trying to keep that role uh, as a pass rusher, which it has been in the past, most notably like 2024.
Right.
Last year, they used it more in pass coverage, and so I, if they are going to deploy more in the Sam, I do expect it to revert back to some of the things they've done previously, not necessarily model it after last year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with that Sam role, whether it even exists. We've talked a couple times about like kind of just having outside linebacker pass rushers and being more of a 5-2 look or a 3-4 look, depending on
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it. Because both Wanham and Moore kind of have they have stand up history, and in fact Moore did a lot of it. Aiden did a lot of it in college as
yep.
well. Um,
Anthony
you know,
Lucas, the UDFA that
sure.
they brought in, has stand up ability as well.
I still kind of like Jimmy Rolder as a potential option as a Sam stand up kind of linebacker as well. Um, the pass rush is and size are bigger issues for him than the other guys, but
Sure.
he did it a little early in Michigan and did not look completely out of place. Um, so I think you might see a little bit more versatility on the edges than you've seen in the past. We've talked about the versatility with the linebacker crew, with a lot of those guys being interchangeable. We saw it in the Baltimore game where they were kind of playing all over the place, and you threw gosh, what's the linebacker's name that I can't think of right now?
Trevor Nowaski.
Trevor Nowaski into that mix as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm fascinated right now with what the defense is going to look like, because we've even talked about the interior and how that might look different because they don't have like as many pure noses as they did in the past. Are they going to play more double three techs? Are they going to mix things up there? Is Aleem going to play more nose? Is Talik going to play more nose? Does Kiana Aina have a realistic chance at being like the nose two on this team? There's a lot of unknowns right now, and I'm not opposed to any of it at this point. I on some level trust Kelvin Shepherd to figure out what works best, and probably, I mean, this is the time of year to play around with those things, right? I imagine that's something they're doing right now, is just seeing where they fit best. Obviously, your abilities are limited in what you can do in practice and things like that, but like try to put some of those mental reps in their head or roles in their head and see how naturally it comes with some of these players. And then when they get on the field, see what happens.
Yeah, and there's so many different terminologies that we're going to use, and it's really just a matter of like, what's the player's position on the field versus the role that you're asking them to do. So like when Derek Moore is standing up on the edge, they may not call him a Sam. They may call him like a Jack, right?
Right.
Because that's looking more like a 3-4 outside linebacker. But then it that role is going to function very similarly. And so you might hear different terminology changes with the lines up front. Um, but I think that's just because, like you said, that they have the capability to be a 4-man front, a 5-man front, a 3-man front, to stand up, to stack guys, to run a 4-man front with a fifth Sam over or Jack over the outside guy, and they have a lot of flexibility. Is what is the message here, and the types of edge guys that they have acquired this offseason have that ability to stack. And so that certainly gives, and the lack of linebackers that they brought in certainly seems to point to the fact that Kavan is on the right path here. That we may end up seeing more of these edge guys in that kind of stand up role.
Between the numbers, Anthony, our good friend, also kind of is talking about this, so we can just kind of continue to extend this conversation. Says Erik has hinted to this, but what if the fewer linebackers on the roster isn't a sign of more nickel at all, but more of a signal of 5-2 looks responsive to the trending of 13 personnel? In 13, the offense wants tight end versus linebacker mismatches. Why give it to them? Force tight ends into blocking mismatch size on the first level without passing game mismatches on the second level. For example, at the jack, put Barnes and Rodrigo, and then Hutch, Aleem, Tyleek, Levi, and Wanham/Moore as part of your 5-man front.
Yeah, it's essentially trying to do what Minnesota did to Detroit last year and force the offense to make adjustments, right? The Minnesota blitzed the A gap so that the Lions had to keep Gibbs in blocking and couldn't release him, and that took away his ability to be a weapon in the passing game. What Anthony's alluding to is a similar type thing. If you are going to stack the box with these edge rushers, you're going to force the tight ends to check into blocks instead of releasing. And yeah, you're going to dictate blocking assignments if you bring a heavier presence or a more pass rush presence up front. It makes sense. I mean, it's certainly something that they have the horses to do. You know what I mean? Like they have a lot of talented players that they can put into a lot of different spots. And so I think Shep is creative enough that that's certainly something he could introduce. And, like Anthony said, force the offense to adjust to you instead of the other way around.
The only thing that makes me a little bit skeptical of this is depth. Because if one of those pieces are missing, like if you lose Aleem, Tyleek, or Levi, who steps up in any of those roles?
Well, you're hoping Levi could be like a Lacey or West could fill into that role.
Right.
It's a lot harder to replace Levi or Tyleek. You could, if Hutch wanted to take a breather, you could have Wanham and Moore on opposite sides. Yeah, so it certainly gets tricky with the defensive tackles.
Right.
But I think that's going to be a reoccurring theme that we discuss all throughout the season.
Right. But I guess that is my general overall point. In the way that we talk about linebacker, and there's not a lot of depth at linebacker, so maybe that means more nickel. I feel like maybe we should be having the same conversation at defensive tackle. They're not particularly deep there, so playing 3 defensive tackles in a base 5-2 is risky. I don't know if they have enough guys to fulfill a rotation there, unless they like Tufele a lot, unless one of those rookies that they drafted in day 3 can jump into that rotation. I mean, maybe they like Chris Smith a lot, maybe they like Miles Adams a lot, but to me it's not a great looking depth chart.
The unique thing about their edge guys, Wanham, Moore, and Lucas, and I don't know, I don't know if Turner's done this, but at least with Wanham, Moore, and Lucas, all of them can play standing up, and all of them can reduce inside. And so you could just stack 2 of them and have one be in that Levi role, and then the other one, and then now you got a guard that has to deal with a faster edge guy and a tackle that has to take. So there's
right, and I think Brad even mentioned Derek Moore like sliding inside sometimes, like that.
Yeah, they all do. Yeah, all of them, and it's unique in that. And again, you do the same thing with Aiden, right?
Sure.
You keep Aiden in if you wanted, and then you could have Wanham and Moore on the outside, and then Aiden shift in. So there's some creativity that can be done with them, and who knows? Maybe Gil Howard can provide a level of first step quickness that could just add disruption in a way that we haven't thought about yet. Sure. And there's got to be a plan. We just it's all projection right now. We're all just
all guessing game, which is why I think we're all excited for OTAs. I don't know how much we'll get tipped off during OTAs and mandatory minicamp. But we're gonna try to extrapolate as much as we can
Sure.
from walkthroughs and unpadded
Right.
practices and whatever we can find out. But that's for later in the month. But probably a good reminder to, I assume, if you show up to some of those OTAs, maybe we'll do like we do in the fall. Do little daily
It's gonna be.
recap videos over on Pride of Detroit Direct.
It'll be tough. I can tell you. Don't get everybody too excited because it's end of the school year. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like these
sure.
always fall
Yeah.
on the last day, and with my kids being all spread out right now, it's tricky,
Yeah.
right? And so yeah, there's a lot going on right now,
Sure.
and OTAs are always
They're
just
tough.
in
Yeah.
my craw. Yeah.
But even if you don't get those, if you're a Pride of Detroit Direct subscriber, you will get First Bite, our Lions recap podcast series that is ongoing, where we interview someone who covered the Lions draft picks in college, talk to them all about them. We've already dropped 2 episodes for their last 2 picks this week. I kept saying that we're going to do Abney, but I think it's actually Kendrick Law time, right?
Oh yeah,
Am I getting
Law's
the order?
next.
Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
So the Kendrick Law podcast will be dropping later this week for Pride of Detroit Direct subscribers. And if you don't know what Pride of Detroit Direct is, let me tell you real quick. It's our not weekly, bi-weekly, sometimes tri-weekly newsletter sent directly to your email. You subscribe, you get columns, you get additional podcasts, you get articles by our good friend Ty Schulter, who does an excellent job and is one of the best Lions writers, I think. I'm going to say this, in sports writing history, one of the best Lions writers. I very much enjoy the way he writes, and I'm honored to have him part of the team. You get exclusive mailbag podcasts every month that run, in this last case, 5.5 hours long between 2 episodes. So go to pridedetroit.com/subscribe if you want to be a part of that community as well.
It takes time. Hey, I'm impressed we kept it under 10 hours with 60 questions. You know what I mean? So,
all right. And with that said, we're going to close out this week's Midweek Mailbag. We will be back next week for a podcast for everyone with the Midweek Mailbag. We'll probably talk a lot of schedule and a whole lot more. But until next time, that's Erik over there. I'm Jeremy. Thank you all for listening. It's chaos. Be kind.
Recording stopped.
All right. For our live audience, we're going to hang around a little bit. If you're watching here on YouTube, Twitch, or over on the feed through a live YouTube link, like Joe a Tiger, who wanted to kind of pitch in with the defensive scheme stuff, says, with all the talk about the Lions potentially shifting from 4-3 to 3-4 base, I'm looking at the personnel and wondering if the label is actually misleading. The front 4 on paper remains Hutchinson, Tyleek, Williams, McNeil, and Wanham. Help me make sense of this, specifically by letting go of true nose tackles like DJ Reader and Roy Lopez. It seems we're moving away from a traditional space eater in the middle rounds to double 3 techs. Either way, to me, it looks like we have a 4-man front.
yeah, I think it's going to be a primarily 4-man front with the opportunity to go 3 linebackers, opportunity to add a 5th edge or a 5th defensive lineman with that likely being an edge in that kind of Sam Jack role. The opportunity to increase the sub package usage from around from 50% up to maybe 60 or 70, which would be getting closer to the norm.
Yeah.
Right.
I should show. Finish your point. I want to show.
But yeah, I was just saying, I'm not buying the 3-4 switch. I would be more inclined to call it like a 5-2 option, but that's just part of their option categories.
Yeah, and we kind of outlined what you can call it 5-2, you can call it 3-4, but you're
it
basically
doesn't
counting.
matter. It's
You're
semantics.
it's those 3 defensive tackles we were just talking about. It's McNeil, it's Levi, and it's Tyleek. Those are your 3, and then your 4 would be Hutchinson, either Wanham or Brown, and then your 2 interior guys. So presumably Barnes and Campbell.
Yep. But they're gonna use Rodrigo. They're gonna use, they got a lot of nickels, so we're gonna see, I think, more of that look as well.
the chart I was referencing, and I found this over on Reddit, but it's from FTN. Let me just show you here. The one thing I'm curious about and not entirely sure on is how you calculate expected nickel rate. But nickel rate over expectation, the Lions were essentially third lowest in the league. But the interesting thing about it is presumably expected nickel rate must be based on how the offense lines up.
Yeah, because Flores uses his nickel like a Swiss Army knife, right? Like he's
what this seems to suggest, though, is that teams are playing like fewer 11 personnel against the Lions than almost any other team.
Oh, I believe that too.
Which is, I don't know. I find that kind of realistic or interesting. Like why are teams avoiding 11 personnel? Why do they see it as a favorable matchup to go multiple tight ends or multiple running backs? Were they not threatened by the Lions linebacking core? Because it feels to me like, I don't know, like maybe you'd want to spread it out against that defense last year, since there were so many questions in the secondary. I don't know. That to me is the more interesting part of the chart. Like, we know that they didn't play nickel very much, but why was the expected nickel rate so low? I don't know. It's a question for someone else, I suppose. Do you have any theories?
No, not really. Like with Flores, he's a threat to blitz, and the Lions blitz a lot, so it could be that. It could be like blitz related.
Yeah.
But I don't have anything that I feel like a stance that I'm confident on.
I wonder if it was just like they, offenses, like they know the Lions are just going to play three linebackers, and so their best bet is to play multiple tight ends.
I feel like we didn't get a lot of multiple tight ends until the Rams and Pittsburgh.
Right, that last stretch of games.
Right. And those were teams that had been using it a lot during the year anyways. So.
True. But I don't know, if you're an offensive coordinator and you know that the Lions are pretty stubborn not playing nickel, do you go into the week with your game plan thinking like, okay, we got to out physical them. We got to load up. We're not going to try to, well, I don't know. But then to me, it's almost the opposite. If you know that the Lions are going to be playing so much base, don't you want to spread them out and be like, all right, well, this is where the mismatch is. They're not going to be able to cover us if we go 11 personnel. I don't know.
They didn't really face a lot of really good quarterbacks down the stretch, though, either.
True.
So they may be worried that the Lions' pressure is slow, but it still gets home. You know what I mean? Like, they were one of the slowest to get there, but they got there at a top 10 rate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe they were like, hey, we got a nursing home patient behind our center. Maybe we don't want to like risk that. All he does is he can barely throw past 5 yards, so we'll just let him throw 5-yard passes all day. Or,
I never want to think about that Pittsburgh game again. That Pittsburgh game has now like entered the lore of the 2021 Steelers game. The tie. Ugh. Just a nightmare. Where were we? Nick the Greek 100 bits says, I rewound this live stream to listen to Eric's reaction to my light chiding. Respect that he doubled down, on brand, never change.
Yep.
Healthy Sweater, 58 months, subscribed on Twitch, says 4.5 years. Where's the time gone? Lord if I know. For me, the time has gone like right here, where all the gray hairs are. That's about it. You got a little more. You got a little more. Although if I grew out a beard that big, it'd probably be pretty gray at this point too. Colorado Line, 17 months, says my Erik Hippleton, Patrick Badgley, Miller pick slot anniversary. I still have 30 minutes-ish left in the first PODD mailbag, all of the second, and now most of this one. So no question, just keep up the good work. Hey, appreciate it, man. Thanks for supporting and consuming all of our content. Appreciate that.
Lot of it out there this week. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I was up late writing that UDFA article that I had been
I saw that you submitted it at 1:30 or something like that. I'm like, Jesus, Erik, go to bed.
Fun fact. I was watching I embedded a Kurt Warner video of Altmaier.
Yeah.
And I had watched it, but I was looking to get a quote. And so I put it back on. And keep in mind, Altmaier, my first guy that I'm writing in the piece, right? Now I'd already done a bunch of outlines on all these guys, but I put that on looking for the quote and fell asleep during the video and woke up and I was like at the, I was like 10 minutes later in the video and I was like, I gotta stay awake. I can't do this. I gotta do this now. I can't do it in the morning.
Nice.
Oh, Kurt Warner with those very
dulcet tones to put you to sleep.
Yeah, thank you. That's much better than what I was going to say.
You could tell how long you were working on that too, because like the whole intro, when I looked at it, was just like, yeah, none of these signings are official yet, but the Lions reportedly have signed 9 UFAs.
I forgot that was my intro.
Yeah.
Whoops. Thank you for correcting that, I assume.
I sure did. No, I just left you out to dry.
No.
My
mistake.
Speaking of Altmaier,
I like him more now that I've looked at him a little bit, but I'm still not like, he still is what he is.
If anyone in the chat is a fan of the show Hacks on HBO, which me and Ryan are, we talk about it a lot. It's in its final season, and there was
Is that the Lisa Kudrow?
No, this is Jean Smart. She plays an aging comedian. But there was a clip of them at a sports bookie place in Vegas, and Ryan was the one who found out or noticed that it's just a big picture of Luke Altmaier. And he wrote a fake headline to me. He's like, former Lions featured on HBO, or current Lion featured on HBO miniseries. Not even miniseries, but thought that was funny. And then, not to throw Ryan under the bus, but he also, he's like, yeah, they must have taken this this video from January 28th. I'm like, oh, how did you know that? And he's like, oh, I did some research. Like, I see on the scroll on the bottom, like these games are being played, so I went and did the research. And I'm like, oh, you know what? It just says January 28th, 2026, literally on the screen. He's like, oh, I did all that work. It's just right there on the screen. Right there. Anyways.
Lisa Kudrow does The Comeback on HBO.
The Comeback.
I knew she was on one of those HBO shows, but
Yeah.
I couldn't remember which.
Hacks, funny show though. Recommend. Final season. It's like 5 seasons or so. All right. What do we got? Sling Part says, time goes right out the window. Tried to hold on to it, didn't even know. Wasted it all just to watch you go. Sorry. You know that song?
Not the way you sing it.
You mean Pitch Perfect?
I've seen that movie.
Well, how many of them?
Yes.
I was a big Linkin Park fan back in high school. Hybrid Theory.
I watched what What is the what's the there's a Netflix show.
That narrows it down.
It's a show. It's a British crime show. It's called like it has a Q. Q is in the title.
Stranger Things.
No, no. It's a British crime show.
That still
Department
doesn't
Q.
end.
Department. It's called Department Q. Okay.
Okay.
Pretty cool. Um, I watched that post draft, and it set me down a British crime series like, and now that's like all I've been watching like it lately is just British British crime sitcoms over and over and over in the background whenever I have the TV on, which is becoming more and more rare. But
have you seen Broadchurch? Broadchurch is pretty good.
I'm in the middle of Slow Horses on
Okay, I've heard good things about
on
that.
Apple TV. Yeah, there's like 5 seasons of that too.
Yeah.
But I've been slowly. I don't know why I got hooked on. I saw.
Luther's pretty good too.
I did put Broadchurch on my favorites, like to be watched later type of thing, because they did a American version of that, and it was okay.
They did?
But I watched, I watched that one, and I thought it was interesting enough, but I'd like enough that I'm like maybe I should go watch the original type of thing.
Yeah, probably.
So, but I don't. I mean, I don't.
I think I'm on the lookout for TV shows right now. I'm in the market.
I have fallen into this rabbit hole of British based,
I sped through Dan Levy's new show. It was okay. I think it's just like bad choices or poor choices, something like that. It was okay.
Who's his co-star with that one?
I don't remember her name. I'm very bad with actors and actresses' names. But if anyone has TV recommendations, I tried to ask Twitter if I should watch the final season of The Boys, and I got a bunch of different answers, but mostly bad ones. Mostly like, no, don't do it. I did not like the last season of The Boys, so I might just be out. But I'm so close to the end, it's just like, just watch it. If they're 30-minute episodes, I would. You should watch Sherlock Holmes. Great series. Not a lot going on in chat. Not a lot of TV recs out there, apparently.
Sometimes, like these things
they
get
didn't Choco Brisket Bowl.
They just get stale. You know what I mean? Like you're just regurgitating the same concept. Like somebody was like, they're running out of cities to do NCIS in. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. Like it's just the same show, just like whatever, right? But I think that's why I've kind of leaned into the British ones, because like they're just it's like a different just a little different twist.
What's the one? It's not British. And it has the SNL guy, the McGurk.
Oh yeah, with the podcast.
Yes. You
Yes.
see that one?
Yes.
What is that one called?
Not yet.
I enjoyed that one.
Oh.
Will Forte.
Yeah.
Crime show. What is that called? Bodkin. Bodkin was
Yes.
fun.
I haven't watched it yet, but I saw that and I was like, all right.
Wait, do you want me to finish it or not? Sunk cost fallacy tells me I should not finish The Boys. But you just said you should finish it. That's the opposite of that is I should ignore the sunk cost fallacy, or I should fall victim to the sunk cost fallacy. Yeah, Bodkin was fun. Yes to both.
They didn't bring the sign guy in as a UDFA.
Nor should they.
But they still have 4 spots open, so
True. Finishing up its nighting like these two. I enjoyed the first season of Silo. I didn't the second. I'm kind of out on Silo. Has it come back yet? I know it's coming back now. I don't know if it's back yet.
I'm game. I'm game for season 3.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. If there's more jump into the future or jump into the past, I might be more.
Yeah,
intrigued.
they're supposed to explain all of them.
Yeah.
They're supposed to explain and it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's like a series of books, right?
Right.
And this is and the whole, when they first started writing it, they wrote it with the intention of covering all of it over the 3 seasons. So it's supposed to explain like a lot of the answers. There you go. It is 3 books. So
it is weird to have that show airing concurrently with the video game one. Oh, not Overwatch. What's the
Halo?
No.
That was a video game one.
The Vault, the one with the one with underground vaults.
Fallout.
Fallout. Yeah, it's like
I liked the first season of Fallout, and the second season I couldn't even remember if I finished it.
It was not as good.
And I did. I finished it.
Yeah.
I know I finished it because my the stream says I did, but like I don't remember finishing it. Like that's how uneventful it was.
Yeah, there was a lot of like. It's the same criticism, and I'm saying this completely out of pocket because I haven't watched it, but it's like the only criticism that people give for like the Lord of the Rings or Hobbit movies, where it's just like it's a lot of walking. It's a lot of those. It's a lot of we're going to get there, and then
don't tell Morgan that you just don't you can't say anything bad about Lord of the Rings.
I'm not making that criticism because I haven't seen them, but
all right, watch them. They're fun.
No thanks.
If you're looking for recommendations, there you go. You just got one.
That's a movie. I don't need movie recs.
If you watch all 3 movies back to back to back, it's like watching a full series.
Ugh.
It's the same time length.
Yeah, except each movie is 3 hours long. I just want to watch an hour TV episode. I don't.
Oh my gosh! Why are you so high maintenance? Watch them 1 hour at a time. It's fine.
I'm an old man. I hate that. Like the standard for movies now are 2.5 hours long. I miss.
Well, these are over 3, so you're okay. You can just pause.
You're going in the opposite direction.
Yeah. Well, you just pause it. It'll be fine. You're smart enough. You'll remember.
I saw Marty Supreme a day or 2 ago.
Yeah. I don't know about that. If I'm gonna watch that.
Here's the funny thing about it. I was watching. I'm like, Jesus, this movie is uncut gems with ping pong. And then I'm like, I wonder. Oh, it's directed by the same guy. Like, oh, of course. Like, it's like, yep. I'm like, there's no way this isn't a Safdie movie. And then, yep, lo and behold, it was a Safdie movie. There's another comment I wanted to. Oh, someone mentioned Letterkenny, which I'm going to use the opportunity to again preach to anyone that will listen to me to go watch Shoresy. Please, for the love of God, go watch Shoresy, the Canadian series about hockey. Oh, it's so good, and it makes me know that I need to go back and actually watch Letterkenny, which is the show that it spun off from.
Wait. Okay.
It was Letterkenny first, and then it spun off into Shoresy.
I've seen like clips from Letterkenny, but I've never actually seen like the show. Yeah. It's kind of like Dropout, where I've seen like a bunch of hilarious clips, yes, but I've never seen like an episode.
Yeah, I don't. It's not brain rot. I disagree. Shoresy's actually got a little heart to it too. I don't know if Letterkenny does or doesn't. Oh man, I love Shoresy.
Is it just?
It's on Hulu.
Oh well, there you go. That's why I haven't seen it.
Mm. Do you have T-Mobile?
Nope.
They give you Hulu for free.
I have
Anyways.
Disney Plus, but they don't overlap a lot.
Just watch YouTube Shorts or something. Who do you think I am? Who do you think I am?
Dude, at this point, you might as well. If your attention span is not long enough to last one movie, you might as well just reduce it to like 1 minute.
150 minutes is a lot. And I'm not saying you can't hold my attention a lot, but like that's a lot of free time that I don't necessarily have.
I remember back in the day when you used to do a marathon of some different. What was the one?
It happened once.
Yeah, that's enough.
And that was in my 20s.
That's a precedent.
I was in my 30s.
Yeah,
Fast and Furious.
and then yeah.
And I also fell asleep during it, so I didn't even last.
Okay, well, look, it's not nearly as long as those.
That's the other thing is like I am a chronic fall asleep while I'm watching things person. So if I start anything at like 8 p.m. or later, I'm not making through it.
Well, look, they have these things where you can pause and rewind, right?
These things.
Yeah, these technological advances.
That's not how it's meant to be consumed. I don't like watching a movie, stopping it, and then starting it later in another day.
Yeah, you can pause it at a certain point.
I just
like
don't like
doing
that, though.
Oh, look, there's a swipe scene. That means I can pause and pick out.
What's Send Help? I don't know what Send Help is.
Isn't that a movie?